Hello, my name is Taya, and I'm the host of the Police Accountability Report. And I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Janis, and we have a breaking news update for you. So we want you to know that we don't leave any story behind, that we don't just abandon people after we interview them, that we continue to follow up and try to get them answers, and if possible, police accountability. And part of this ongoing saga is the story of Wendy Acker and William Laugering. This Minnesota couple was arrested inside their own home in 2020. And Stephen's going to tell you a little bit about what you're seeing while you watch the video with us.
Yeah, they had been harassed by a man in town who they had gotten a restraining order against, and they had called police for help. And instead of helping them, they broke down their door and arrested both Bill and Wendy.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! I got Taser. Oh, God damn it!
Kind of put them in a huge sort of protracted legal ordeal, which is what we see quite often in rural policing. And this was really just the beginning of the problems for them, as we can see. And the update we have is this video that you're going to talk about.
Right, Stephen. Since our story aired, Bill and Wendy have had another troubling encounter with police, this time with the deputy sheriff of Todd County in Minnesota. Now, I'm going to show you the video, but I want you to pay attention to something that really stood out to me. He says, this deputy sheriff says, you can talk your way into a ticket. And I find that very interesting. Take a listen.
You got your license, proof of insurance with you?
Yeah.
You know I stopped you, sir?
No.
No seatbelt?
Are you sure? Got my
Positive.
seatbelt
I
on.
want you to put it on coming around the corner as soon as I stopped you. Right? You didn't have it on. It's all on squad camera. I narrated it.
Do we have insurance?
What kind of dog is that? Nobody wants to talk to me or what?
I don't have to answer your questions.
Alright.
I'm trying to give you my insurance
You're
card.
ready to take it too, that's fine.
No, I'm not trying to be defiant. You were going to write me a ticket anyways. You just
I
said
wasn't.
that.
No, I wasn't.
You
I
said
never
you pulled
said I
me
was
over
writing you
for
a ticket.
seatbelt, so you were going to give me a warning is what you were saying?
Absolutely.
And because I wouldn't tell you what kind of dog I had, now you're going to give me a ticket.
Nope. I can give you a ticket if that's what you want.
I
But
don't
nobody
want
wants
it.
to talk to me
No,
answer
sir,
my
I
questions,
don't want a
so nobody's
ticket.
cooperating. Therefore,
Well, how am I not cooperating? You asked for license and
I'm
insurance.
simply trying to be a decent person.
So am I.
Last 5 cars that I've stopped have gotten warnings.
Well,
long
and
as
I'm the
everyone's
unlucky
cooperative.
one?
What's that?
Thank
And
you.
I'm the unlucky one.
Nope, you're getting a warning too, as long as life is good.
I hope
Okay.
so.
But when people disrespect me, I don't appreciate that.
I don't understand how I was disrespectful to you.
Didn't think
You're
they
ignoring me.
I did not mean to be disrespectful.
I appreciate
is
that.
the main thing.
That's fine. Maybe I misunderstood.
Maybe I did too.
Absolutely. All right, my man. See, just like that. No
Thank
ticket.
you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I don't know.
I don't
but
know. Didn't
when
mean
nobody
it.
answers me, I'm like, well, all right. I can be like that too. You know, I respect everybody that respects me. When I ask a question, nobody answers me. It seems to me that nobody's respecting me, right?
Okay.
You know, I mean, like I said, maybe you guys had a bad run-in with the cops before. I don't know. I see you recording me. That's fine.
That could be a
You know,
possibility.
so I get that. There are bad apples in every profession. But when, in today's world especially, we don't get a lot of respect anymore. And it's slightly irritating. So
Yeah,
nobody
and
respects us,
likewise,
then I guess we're going to
I
treat you
haven't
guys
been
the way you
getting
treat
much
us.
respect from law enforcement lately either, and
Yeah.
so I appreciate your
Absolutely.
professionalism.
Absolutely. Yeah. So not a big deal.
We
You know,
want
like
to
I
treat
said,
people the way they treat
Yeah,
us. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
totally
I
even
don't
do
disagree
unto
with that
others.
one bit. I've been taught that since I was knee-high to a grasshopper in kindergarten. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Thank you.
And I'm 25 years old
appreciate it.
now. It's been with me since I've been 5.
Nice.
So,
We
like
appreciate
I
it.
didn't mean to come off rude or anything by saying you're going to get a ticket, but I can tell you this.
Neither did I.
I've had several
And we
people
didn't.
where they talked themselves into a ticket.
So, Stephen, the fact that you're able to talk your way into a ticket kind of speaks to officer discretion, that the officer had the choice to give someone a ticket or not, that it wasn't purely dependent on the legalities, and it simply could be based on whether or not he liked the person he was talking to. I found this very disturbing, and I think it's also a sign of rural over-policing as well, don't you?
Well, it's a sign of the absolute nature of police power, because you have a situation where he's kind of saying, I don't care what you did or if you had any sort of infraction. I don't care what the law says. It's just whether I decide that I don't like you. And so it's just an example of police power. And I think, it's something that we've talked about a lot on this show, that police kind of have this arrogance when they encounter people that, hey, I'm not here to serve you. I'm here to decide whether or not I want to entangle you in the legal system. And I think that's part of the problem.
So that is just one example of the continually questionable choices of police police officers. And we also have an update from Livingston, Texas. And this is about HBO Matt and his fellow cop watchers like Ismail Rincon. Now, these cop watchers, believe it or not, participated in a very short, I think it was only about 2 minutes long, and very peaceful cop watch, but they ended up being charged with organized crime. Take a look at this video, and Steven's going to share some of his thoughts while we watch.
No, they've been following me around. They're suspicious as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if they've got partners that are committing crime somewhere else and they're keeping an eye on our location. So you're going to give me your ID, or I'm going to arrest you for fail to ID.
And you're going to go to an FBI federal prison for it.
As you can see, it's a pretty innocuous encounter. They're just talking to police and trying to explain why they're driving around. Police are accusing them of stalking them, but there's really no evidence. To me, they're trying to kind of bait them and create sort of the scenario under which they can charge him on these very odd and really sort of troubling charges, because organized crime is, you know, something usually reserved for drug traffickers or drug kingpins, and these guys just have a YouTube channel. So this is a very disturbing example of pushback.
And so this could have a very disturbing effect on the First Amendment, on journalism, and cop watching in general. And Stephen, don't you have an update from the prosecutor for us?
Right. Well, the update is that a grand jury indicted them. We had called the prosecutor's office in the county that serves Livingston, Texas, and asked them to comment, and they would not comment. And now they've indicted them. So we've gotten the grand jury to go along with these charges, which I think is very disturbing, and I think very much a threat to cop watchers across country. Other jurisdictions might be watching and say, oh, we can do this. This is the way we fight back against these guys who want to hold us accountable. So it's very disturbing overall.
Absolutely. If this indictment and the charging is successful, this could have a chilling effect on cop watchers across the country. Because if it works in Texas, you know other states are going to adopt this practice as well. So one of the concerning issues we see most often with law enforcement is their power to continue to drag out the legal process. And we have seen this very clearly with the case of blind justice. Now, believe it or not, he was charged essentially for playing Pokemon Go in a parking lot because he refused to ID himself in a church parking lot. And remember, he was a passenger at the time. This is a disabled veteran who was charged for essentially playing Pokemon Go. Take a look.
What is the reason?
I'm about to bust your window out. Give me your ID.
That's illegal.
No, it's not illegal. Give me your IDs now.
What is the reason you're asking for the ID?
You got about 2 seconds before a window's getting busted out.
Can you tell us the reason?
I'm afraid to
please don't smash.
I'm afraid to put my hand down. Listen, I'm afraid to put my hand down because I don't want you to say that
Roll the window down. That's all.
The window's
It's
the window's cracked.
You can put your hand down there and roll the window down.
You can hear us, right?
I'm really scared of you.
We're afraid of you.
You're gonna be real afraid.
Please don't
stop.
smash the window.
Please don't smash my window. I don't want to reach
Please
down.
stop. Please stop. What do you need?
What do you want? Are you?
Can you help?
us?
Can you
Help
stop?
me, please.
What is going on?
Please, there's somebody on your right. Can I tell him you can't see?
Yeah,
He's blind.
Roll the window
I
down.
want to help.
Now, what's crazy to me is that this case has been dragging on for 3 years. And part of the reason, I think, is because of the difficulty he has in getting accommodations. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, part of the conflict right now is not really about the legality of the case or the charges themselves, but whether or not the court is willing to accommodate him for his disability, to give him the recording devices and the things he needs to actually defend himself. But I think also it's also a really good example, because we actually went down and attended one of the court sessions, of how a very minor arrest against a cop watcher can be dragged out for years and years at great expense and at great cost to the person, in this case blind justice. So it's really disturbing, and he's battling them on what really is our administrative rules that govern the court, and they're pushing back. And I think it's really kind of strange, because the court that we attended when we went there was pretty modern. It seemed like it would be capable of accommodating him, but they don't want to accommodate him. So it's really just, I think, a way of continuing the legal ordeal for him.
So not only is the family dealing with this protracted legal process and having trouble getting the accommodations that he needs to be able to defend himself in court, but they've also had to pay out of pocket. Ms. Justice had to get a $50,000 loan that they've been paying interest on for years. So this has had an emotional cost and a financial one as well.
Right.
Now, to change things up a little bit, we're actually going to report on some good news that we have about Otto the Watchdog. You might be familiar with Otto the Watchdog because you may have seen his famous video of him holding up a sign that some people found profane. Take a look at the video and the sign, and you can judge for yourself. Well, beauty, like profanity, is in the eye of the beholder. But unfortunately for Otto, this has been a court case that has dragged on for years and eventually led to him receiving child endangerment charges while he was camping out with his kids so that he could go to court the next day. So, Stephen, why don't you give us some of the good news?
Well, the good news is that after we aired his interview, they dropped the charge of child endangerment, but now they dropped the charges on the original underlying charge of holding a sign, which is really good news because poor Otto has been through it for years and years and years with this legal system, this legal morass, dragging him back to Texas over and over again when he's trying to get on with his life, keeping him, separating him from his kids. But now it seems like he might be free and clear of this issue. And, it's really amazing. Again, another example of the protracted nature of our legal system and how people, if they don't like somebody, can use the law to just simply, run them through the ringer over and over and over again. But I think finally it seems like he told us that he is clear of these charges now, and finally maybe this ordeal is over.
So even though he's clear of these charges, his children are going to still be traumatized by the event of seeing the flashlights in the dark and their father being dragged out of their camper. Otto's never going to be able to get back the months of time that he lost with his kid. And of course, the money that he had to spend and the time he had to spend traveling hundreds of miles back and forth for these court dates. So we're so happy to report this good news about Otto the Watchdog. And we want to thank you so much for joining us for this update. As you know, we will always follow up whenever we can to make sure that the people we speak to really are getting justice and really are getting some sort of meaningful accountability or change in their community. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. I'm Taya Graham, and
I'm Stephen Janis.
And we are the Police Accountability Report. Please be safe out there.